Bun B is going through this case, right?
Yeah.
And somebody tried to, well, they did a home invasion on his home, and the burglar or the perpetrator ended up getting shot. This is 2019, roughly. So they ran up on Bun and his wife Queenie. Shout out to Bun, real stand up brother, always has been. Rest in peace, pimp. But is it wrong that I look at Bun? Like Bun has been so successful for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? Even before that, I'm talking about since I've met him and Pimp and them, right? They've been successful for so long that I know Bun is not of this life anymore. Now, I think
Yeah.
Bun lived a life at one time that was a little bit more street, but I don't think Bun has lived a street life in, I don't know, 15 years at best. You know what I'm saying? This man opened a burger
Yeah.
franchise. You know what I mean? He's been a successful rapper, you know what I mean? A pundit on television shows when it comes to black issues and rights. And I saw somebody post him on the stand and him crying, going through this deep memory of how it has messed his wife up to where, you know, she was really shook because somebody came into the place that's supposed to be private for you.
Sure.
That's supposed to be private for you. You know what I mean? And somebody came and invaded that space and it left a crazy, you know, like effect on his old lady, you know what I mean, on Queenie. And it's like he has to tell because this is part of his case. This dude got shot. It could put Bun in trouble, you know, him defending his household. And I saw a thread of people, young people, people who work at cubicle desks calling him a snitch. And I'm like, this is the problem. This is why I made that big deal out of declaring Drake is not hip hop because you have to understand the type of people that can be held accountable and that should be speaking for the culture of this life. Because if you have people that speak for this culture that don't quite understand it, even if they don't have the same opinion as me, they have some kind of opinion that's rooted in a level of that's not fear. Like it's
Mm.
too many people speaking on things based out of fear. But back to the bun. So it's a thread of young people who probably work at cubicles calling this man a snitch. And I'm like, that's not what that means. And it's so frustrating because it's like, bro, like it's a really simple thing if you was raised into it culturally. And it hit me. It's so many black people in America that are not culturally involved with shit. They are
Yes, you are.
really Americans. They are fucking Americans. And I'm talking about Pete, real Americans. I'm talking about American. They as American as America. And they feel like because their skin is dark or because white people don't like them, that they are a part of the culture. And it's like, no, fool. You're getting treated like that way because white people treat everybody that way that's not white in America. And some people that's white in America, they mistreat them. And just separating black culture versus black experience. I keep saying this. Black culture is how people treat each other. The black experience is how somebody treats you, right? Treats black people. But if you don't treat other black people in this way, how do you talk to them? When I see a brother Pete, it's a way I speak to him. It's when we cook, when we eat, it's a way we eat. It's things we do that create the culture of what being a brother in America is all about. It's not just being mistreated by white people. Mexican people get mistreated by white American people. Every fucking body, Italian, Irish, people get mistreated by the white person in America. And I'm not saying one gets treated worse, or I'm just saying everybody feels
Sure, sure.
that mistreatment. So
Yeah.
the experience cannot be the thing you hang off of, which is why people feel entitled to judge this man and think that they have a right to even use this fucking term in a way that's incorrect and fucking silly. Nobody from the streets would ever call Bun a snitch in this situation. Nobody that ever grew up in our life, Pete, not even people with sense like you who didn't grow up in this life, you would use sense and be like, that's different. That's different.
Sure, sure.
Like people wonder why the nuance of what's going on with Cowboy, you know, Nip's big homie from 60, Thundercat, right? They don't understand that there's a nuance that we all know as people that really lived in the streets. We'll look at him like, I'm gonna just stay away from that one because it's a little more tricky. What was said in court is a little bit more tricky. You know, talking to the police, it's nuance. So you usually just stay the fuck out of it because you don't have the details and it's not your business to politic on. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
again, if people want to make it like there's this fine line of what's snitching and what's not, then you don't understand the line.
Yeah, and I think, from an outsider's perspective, there is a degree, a portion maybe of the Black community that has a little bit of identity crisis insofar as how they want to perceive themselves. And if they're not really in the quote cultural epicenter of the community, then I think there's some validity to the idea that hip hop has provided them access to being or feeling like they are a little closer to the epicenter of the community than maybe they actually are.
Mm.
And they don't really might so much know the nuanced difference between the two. So they take what they hear, distilled lines or whatever, out of context from their access bridge, and then, take them and run with them beyond the narrow confines which they exist in that epicenter.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's the tricky part about when people say hip hop is Black culture.
Mm-hmm.
I